A tourist in a loud shirt and a cocky laugh thought he could do anything. He crossed the line, wiped his hands on the uniform of a royal guard, and challenged him to a silent standoff, expecting no reaction. But with a single step forward and a sharp command, the guard froze the crowd in its tracks. What happened next didn't just change the mood of the day, but reminded everyone why tradition deserves respect. A story that began with mockery ended with a lesson no one would forget. On a bustling London street, the atmosphere was alive with the sounds of footsteps, chattering voices, and the occasional honk of a passing car. The sky above was a gentle gray, typical of a late afternoon in the city. St. James's Palace loomed in the background, its historic architecture a reminder of Britain's regal past. The scent of roasted chestnuts from a nearby vendor mingled with the faint aroma of rain on cobblestones, creating a distinctively London ambiance. Tourists swarmed the area, some holding cameras, others sipping from steaming cups of tea purchased at nearby vendors. Children darted around their parents, their laughter punctuating the otherwise steady hum of conversation. Souvenir sellers called out to passers-by, displaying miniature guardsmen and Union Jack flags. A street performer nearby strummed a soft tune on his guitar, adding a gentle melody to the scene. Standing at the edge of the courtyard was a tall, statuesque figure. The royal guard was in his late 20s, with a lean yet muscular build, his dark skin glowing faintly under the soft, overcast light. His expression was calm, almost serene, though his eyes conveyed a sharp awareness of his surroundings. His iconic bearskin hat stood proudly atop his head, perfectly complementing the vibrant red of his tunic, which was adorned with golden buttons and insignias. His polished black boots reflected the cobblestone street below, and his hands gripped his ceremonial rifle with quiet authority. Every inch of him exuded discipline and pride in his role. Among the throng of tourists was John, an American in his mid-30s. He was of average height with pale skin, slightly tousled blonde hair, and an air of misplaced confidence. Dressed in a loud Hawaiian shirt and cargo shorts, he carried a bulky camera slung around his neck. His sunburned cheeks and boisterous laugh set him apart from the more subdued crowd. As he approached the guard, his grin widened mischievously. "Hey, buddy, smile for the camera." John's voice was loud, cutting through the ambient hum of the street. The guard remained unmoving, his gaze fixed straight ahead. Undeterred, John continued to taunt him, stepping closer with exaggerated gestures. Nearby, a young couple whispered to each other, shaking their heads at John's behavior. A woman in her early 40s wearing a stylish trench coat whispered to her young son, "Let's not get too close, show some respect." The boy nodded, clutching her hand as they moved away. The tension in the air was palpable, like the quiet before a storm. The clouds above thickened, casting a cooler shade over the courtyard. The murmurs of the crowd grew louder as John continued his antics. He leaned in close to the guard, pretending to study his uniform. His camera flashed, the bright light momentarily reflecting off the guard's golden buttons. "Come on, soldier. Aren't you supposed to entertain us?" John's tone was laced with mockery. The guard, a model of discipline, remained motionless. His square jaw tightened subtly, but his eyes betrayed no emotion. Meanwhile, a group of teenage tourists nearby giggled nervously. One of them, a girl with freckles and braided auburn hair, pulled out her phone to record the interaction. "This is going to go viral," she whispered excitedly to her friend. John's provocations escalated. He reached out a hand and brushed it against the pristine red fabric of the guard's tunic. "What's this made of? Wool? Fancy stuff for standing still all day." A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. A young boy clutching an ice cream cone froze mid-lick, his eyes wide with disbelief. An elderly man, dressed in a tweed jacket and bowler hat, stepped forward. "That's enough, young man," he said sternly. "Show some decency." Ignoring the admonition, John smirked and took a bold step across the white line marking the boundary. "What are you going to do about it, huh?" His voice was louder now, dripping with challenge. The crowd shifted uneasily, some murmuring disapproval, others pulling out their phones to capture the unfolding drama. The guard's response was swift and commanding. He took a single, measured step forward, his boots striking the cobblestones with an audible thud. "Step back," he barked, his voice deep and authoritative. The sound echoed through the courtyard, silencing the crowd. John's smirk faltered as he stumbled back, startled by the sudden command. The air was thick with tension, every eye fixed on the guard and his defiant challenger. Just as the tension seemed to reach its peak, a soft cry pierced the air. A small boy, no older than 6, stood near the white line. He had dropped his plush teddy bear, which now lay just beyond the boundary. His round face crumpled as he began to cry, clutching at his mother's hand. "My bear," he whimpered, pointing at the toy. The guard, who had resumed his stoic posture, glanced down briefly. With deliberate precision, he took another step forward. Every movement was graceful, calculated. He bent down, retrieving the teddy bear with his gloved hand. The boy's tears stopped as his eyes widened in awe. The guard knelt slightly, extending the bear back to its owner. His voice, though soft, carried a gentle authority. "Here you go, young man." The crowd erupted into applause. The boy's mother beamed, thanking the guard profusely. Even the teenage girl with the camera lowered her phone, a smile tugging at her lips. "Did you get that?" her friend asked. She nodded. "Yeah, but I think this is better than any viral prank." Meanwhile, John stood awkwardly at the edge of the scene. His earlier bravado had melted away, replaced by a faint flush of embarrassment. The elderly man in the tweed jacket clapped him on the shoulder. "There's a lesson in that for you, lad." John muttered an apology under his breath, his gaze fixed on the ground. The sky began to clear, rays of sunlight breaking through the clouds and bathing the courtyard in a soft glow. The guard returned to his post, his posture as impeccable as ever. The crowd began to disperse, their chatter filled with admiration for the guard's composure and kindness. Vendors packed up their stalls, and the street performer transitioned to a cheerful melody, lifting the mood further. John lingered for a moment, his hands shoved deep into his pockets. He avoided meeting anyone's gaze, but the faint lines of a thoughtful frown creased his forehead. As he turned to leave, the faint sound of a child's laughter reached his ears. He glanced back, seeing the boy clutching his teddy bear tightly, waving goodbye to the guard. For a moment, John hesitated, then offered a small sheepish wave of his own. The video of the incident quickly spread online, garnering millions of views. Comments poured in, praising the guard's dignity and humanity. "This is what tradition looks like," one comment read. "Respect to the Royal Guard." Another added, "A true gentleman in every sense of the word." As the guard stood silently at his post, he remained unaware of the viral fame his actions had earned. To him, it was simply another day of service. But for those who witnessed his quiet heroism, it was a reminder of the enduring value of respect, tradition, and grace under pressure. The scene lingered in the minds of all who were present, a timeless lesson etched into the heart of a modern city.